Welcome everyone to 7 Minutes or Less, talking about the shows you love and want to get into. Today we will be talking about Outlander Season 1. And this is the first part to a series, as Season 1 was broken into two parts. Season 1, Part A, consists of 8 episodes, which the material begins the story, sets up the story, and leaves you on a pretty decent cliffhanger. I'm also aware that when the show was released on DVD, the complete full season was released, so thusly the idea that this was broken into 2 parts is kind of irrelevant, but here I'm treating it as such anyway. I do this for those who haven't heard of it and have a curiosity into the show. Think of this as a small dose to a very well-detailed show, as much as the book is. With that said, let's get into this. Outlander is what you would call a period piece with a little bit of science fiction, a splash of fantasy, but it is primarily a historical fiction told through the perspective of Claire Randall, a World War II combat nurse who is sent back in time from her time period of 1946 to 1743. Claire is reuniting with her husband Frank after many years of being separate from one another due to the war, which they both travel to Scotland to reunite and rekindle their relationship as a honeymoon. Now, the details of this show start off as such where you aren't very clear why certain things are relevant. For instance, Frank has an interest in his own personal lineage, while Claire, being a nurse, is finding an interest in botany to help with remedies for those in need of aid. These are details planted in just the first episode alone, while I would say the first episode does an exquisite job at establishing Claire and Frank as a couple and how they react to one another. Frank isn't some sort of secretive asshole. He's a likable guy with knowledge and a cool head to remain informative. He treats Claire with respect and kindness, and Claire holds no reservations towards him. Essentially, a perfectly fine couple as husband and wife. Until Claire is sent back in time. Due to circumstances I won't spoil, she is sent back in time without realizing it, and becomes entangled with a group of rebel Scottish Highlanders. Before you yawn and think this is just like a fish out of water story that will have a beginning, middle, and end, typically like you see in the movies, think again. Claire is quickly whisked away from the one place she can return to that could take her back to her own time, but not without a few confusing elements and surprising twists in the narrative. Claire, before she encounters the Highlanders, encounters someone extremely familiar in this time frame of 1743. Her husband, Frank. But this isn't Frank. In fact, it's Frank's ancestor, Captain Jonathan Blackjack Randall, who looks exactly like Claire's husband. We'll get to Blackjack Randall in a minute, but this is essentially the story of Claire. Sent back in time, gets involved with Scottish Highlanders, is misunderstood as a British spy, and is kept as a keeler, all while Claire tries to get back to her own time frame. Blackjack Randall provides a very harsh and truly disturbing antagonistic force for Claire, forcing the Highlanders to marry Claire to one of the youngest Highlanders, a part of the Klansmen, Jamie Fraser. Jamie, I would say, has just as much honorable mentions as Claire's husband does in the World War II time frame, if not more. Jamie is a tough, consistent, kind, and noble person, as he has a very integral part to play in all this, and an intense past to one which Jack Black Randall is a part of as well. You may think I have given you too much information and possibly spoilers for just this show alone. Trust me, I haven't even begun. In these 8 episodes alone, you are immersed in the details of Diana Gabaldon, who wrote the series of books, and Ronald D. Moore, whose credits go to one of my favorite shows, Battlestar Galactica. Together, what was consulted on and produced is a taut, detail-filled, exquisite experience no other show will give you. This show is quite particular in what it gives you and how it presents to you. And in the common eye, it could come off as boring, too Twilighty, and possibly unnecessary in some aspects. This is where I am to tell you, my friends, this is not the case. I am not speaking as a fanboy nor a spectator in a harsh critical limelight. If you give the show a chance, you will find many details within the show soon paid off by the time you reach the 8th episode, not to mention beyond. This show is quite incredible, and there is not likely to be another show out there like it in the near future. The actors and actresses, especially who play Jamie, Jonathan, and Claire, are absolutely spot on as they deliver full emotions and impeccable dialogue, breathing life into these characters. I spoke of Blackjack Randall and how we will get to him in a minute. There is a reason why he kind of gets his own personal shout out, because he is the show's main villain. And usually main villains have a hit or miss tendency to be just enough or not much at all for our characters to bounce around and worry about. Blackjack Randall is truly a force to be reckoned with. In fact, not since Joffrey Baratheon in Game of Thrones have I hated, no, despised a character so much. Tobias Mendes, who plays Blackjack Randall along with Claire's wife, is truly an impeccable actor, giving his best performance of his career, giving this character no redemption and a twisted form of what is good and bad in his world. Introduced as a plot device, but that completely is stripped away as he is quickly that much more than you'll ever realize. He is sick, twisted, brutal, and conniving, and you will love to hate him. This brings me to the content of these episodes and the material explored within each episode. Topics such as rape, marriage, ancestry, magic, and various legal matters amongst history are explored. Rape being the most controversial matter within TV shows and movies these days, that specific topic is not shied away from, but it is not glorified and ignored later. It is constructed and specifically placed amongst the crucial events as the story unfolds, which such an action is bound to take place. It is upon one character you are not supposed to like, and it is against a character you do not wish to see any harm come upon. This is a focused, brilliantly detailed show I think not enough people are talking about. Sadly, this show isn't without faults, but I really think it depends on the spectator. This is a highly recommendable show, but with a few addendums. The pacing can be an issue for some, as it takes a while to get places and accomplish goals, especially for Claire's sake, but a lot of this is understandable. The harsher topics can be a bit much for some, but as I said, it really depends on the watcher. And to be honest, there was moments that I wasn't into the show. I would say for the first 3 episodes, I was just along for the ride, not caring for much except for the concept itself, time travel and period pieces, which I love. But it wasn't until episode 4, called Rent, that I just fell in love with everything. Guys, in the end of this first part alone, I have found myself mesmerized, interested, loving every bit of detail in this show. More people need to watch it, and it premieres on Stars. Watch it and tell me what you think. No rating for now, as I have to get part 2 underway. Alright guys and gals, thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in seeing Outlander and found my review interesting enough or informative enough, give me a like, maybe a share, and if you would be so gracious to help me out, subbing would make all the difference. If you're new to my channel, check out what I've got. I create all sorts of stuff from TV shows and movie reviews and all those that come together and make a universe. Your support means everything to me, and just by that alone, I'll get you more reviews in the future.